Fields race past the car windows as I drive down stretching country roads. The sky is clear, perfectly blue, and the radio fizzes slightly over the end of Ed Sheeran's Castle on the Hill. With all the windows wound down and dry summer air encompassing me entirely, I feel as though I'm flying. After hours of empty roads leaving the past behind me, I finally reach the hustle and bustle of a rural town. Or at least the snoozing and cruising that's to be expected after a big lunch at the pub on a Saturday afternoon. Main Street is relatively quiet, with just a few busybody tourists trying to maintain purpose in a place that doesn't need it. I probably would have been one of them last year, if I allowed myself the time off, drowned in the riptide of society's constant forward movement. Kids squeal and make commotions in the river below as I drive over the bridge above them. I smile to myself and continue on, their inexplicable joy and the small town fading away behind me. I continue on a little further and turn onto a dirt road past a no-through road sign peppered with lichen and smudged with dirt. Fine dust billows through the windows and I'm sent into a coughing fit. I scold myself for my brainlessness and wind up the windows as quickly as possible, driving on until I reach the crumbling gate at the end of the road. The brass house numbers from Bunnings denoting the property's address have long since fallen off the rotting gate and been lost in the ditch that slowly eats away more of the driveway with each rainfall. I feel watched as I leave the car idling to open the gate. The air feels static and charged with a thrumming natural energy. Magic is the best word I can find to describe it, but I brush it off as nerves and get back in the car. I haven't been here in years. Of course I'm nervous. After driving through and closing the gate behind me, I continue on to the cottage that stands at the bottom of the property, next to the river that flows into town. The property was my grandparents', passed on to me 6 months ago when my granddad died and Granny moved into a retirement village closer to my aunt. I grew up here over many endless summers and it all looks just the same, even in its state of neglect and disrepair. The wooden swing my brother pushed me off hundreds of times into the river when we were kids still hangs from the large gum tree on the water's edge, swinging gently in the breeze. The corrugated tin roof that rattles with every raindrop still looks as sturdy as the day I watched Grandad put it up, even with the layers of rust. And the veggie patch Granny used to religiously slave over still sits proudly at the end of the stepping stone path that snakes from the back door, both overgrown, but there. Tears sting my eyes as I shut off the car in the carport and step out. This place is going to need a lot of hard work and is going to encourage a lot of tearful reflection, but it will be absolutely worth it for the fresh start I have so desperately craved. As I settle in over the slowly drifting weeks and start fixing up the mess of neglect across the property, I start to notice strange things. On full moon nights, I hear drums and choruses of chanting echo through the surrounding bush. I swear I see tiny faces peering at me from the cracks in rocks and through bunches of leaves in trees out of the corner of my eye. And in the few times it's poured down with rain, I can't deny hearing what sounds like dancing among the thick droplets hitting the roof. These moments protrude from my memory and send me reeling with impossible questions. I do a little bit of reading into Australian fae at the minuscule local library, but on a whole, I push them aside. I let them pass like clouds, until one scorcher of a Tuesday. After a productive morning tidying up the veggie patch, I decide to go for a swim to refresh myself and wash off the grime and dirt. As I walk down to the edge of the water, towel tossed over my shoulder, I see an impossible thing on the opposite bank. Crouched down in the shallows of the river, there is a humanoid creature about the size of my fist. They are splashing water up their arms and over their shoulders to their back. Their skin looks like the trunk of a gum tree, patchy with vitiligo, and their hair is the colour of gum leaves. It's floating gently around their face as though submerged underwater. Through their wispy hair sprouting from either side of their head are two very sharp, pointed ears, over one of which is tucked a small flowering gum nut. I move to take another step forward, but my towel slides from my shoulder to the ground with a flump, and the fairy's hair quickly drops around their shoulders, suddenly deciding to obey the laws of gravity. Their entire body tenses, frozen halfway through the motion of splashing water over their face. They turn to look at me, eyes like inky black stones locking with mine. They grimace, exposing sharp teeth in a troubled expression before dropping the water from their cupped hands, picking up a spear lying beside them and darting into the ferns about a metre behind them. I just stand there, stunned, unable to comprehend the wonder I have just witnessed. A moment later, a wombat emerges from tangled bushes roughly 10 or so metres from the opposite riverbank, the humanoid creature lying atop its back in the hopes of not being seen again. Fairies are real. It feels absurd in today's logical society, a society I have been a puppet to for far too many years, to state such a mystical thing so firmly, but I cannot, for the life of me, deny what I have witnessed. I feel as though I have been momentarily sucked into a beautifully illustrated fairy book, or that I'm dreaming. I'm not. This is real. And the chorus of questions I had previously pushed aside rise to a crescendo within my mind, refusing to be ignored any longer. All the pieces have just fallen neatly into place. The echoing of chants through moonlit nights, the tiny peering faces, the dancing on the roof, they were fairies. I wasn't just seeing or hearing things. There's a source, and all I want is to know more. But how do I learn more? Do I find them? Do I read? Or in wanting to know more, have I shattered my chances of knowing more before I've even begun? What do I do?